half his forces defect. Okay, so William Stanley and Henry Percy just say, you know what, we're going to fight with the Tudors. Uh-oh, they're not outnumbered anymore. Now we're in trouble. Then one of his best friends, the Duke of Norfolk, falls. As soon as he falls, Richard's men are demoralized, as is Richard. They pretty much think it's the end. Richard doesn't, though. Richard says, I'm the king, I'm the best warrior out here on the field. So he takes his white charger and he rushes into the enemy ranks. Okay, he fights bravely, hacking down men. He finally gets within a sword's length of Henry Tudor, and he's going to cut him down. And then all of a sudden, his ally, William Stanley, his men surround him. And that's the end of good King Richard. They end up killing him. Richard's body was carried back naked on horseback to Leicester, where he was buried in the garden at Greyfriars Church. The exact location was lost due to more than 400 years of development, so they just kept on building over it. There was, in the 16th century, a commemoration stone put up in the garden at Greyfriars Church. However, that was lost as well. 2012, in archaeological investigations, found a parking lot in Leicester, and with sonic imaging, they found a body in that parking lot. And that body just happened to coincide with those gardens at Greyfriars Church. And through DNA evidence, through surviving relatives, they determined that it was the body of Richard III. Now, I told you guys this the very first day of class. That discovery broke my heart. I had always contended with the Warhammer stuff and all that. There's no way that he could have had a withered arm or a hunchback. When they discovered that body, it had a severe curvature of the spine. He was a hunchback. Now, it's funny because the documentary that I actually watched on this, there were members of the Richard III Society who actually commissioned this whole study and discovered the body. And one of their representatives was this lady who obviously felt very much like I did. There was no way that Richard could have had a hunchback. And when they discovered that curvature of the spine, she literally started crying. I felt like crying too. Okay, so Henry Tudor succeeds Richard and becomes Henry VII. He sought to cement his succession by marrying Elizabeth of York, Edward IV's daughter. So, since Elizabeth was a Plantagenet, I guess our story doesn't really end here, does it? Because technically, Plantagenet blood is going to be on the English throne until we get to the Stuarts. And then we'll have a real separation. But nonetheless, Richard is still considered the last Plantagenet king, and he's also the last English king to die on the battlefield. So that brings us to the end of the Plantagenet dynasty. We've gone through basically 4 centuries of one family ruling England in pretty much an unbroken succession. They changed everything, okay? Not only for England, but for the Western world. Okay, our modern ideas of jurisprudence, our modern political systems, our modern economy, all came from this family. Okay, Parliament came from this family. The exchequer, taking control of the money, came from this family. It's pretty amazing that a little tiny island country that was basically susceptible to invasion from every single side managed to influence Western society as much as they have. Now, I've told people this before. I mean, I've been singing this song for 20 years, and people look at me like I'm crazy. What are you talking about? Then I'll sit there and I'll show them. You know, look, guess what? It was feudalism. You know, all throughout Europe. Guess what? You know, Adam Smith capitalism, here we go. It amazes me that this family had this much influence. And just the length of their reign. It was absolutely amazing to me. So with that, I'd like to conclude, and I will take any questions that you guys have. Yes, Elizabeth. Thank you very much.